The alarm bells screamed across the monitoring station as Thisara stared at her screen in complete shock. Her 4 eyes blinked rapidly as she checked the readings again and again. Earth had gone silent. Not just quiet, but completely dead to all signals. For 300 years since humans joined the galaxy community, their blue planet had never stopped talking. Now there was nothing. Thisara pressed her communication button with a shaking tentacle. Control Center, we have a problem. Earth is dark. The voice that came back was calm but worried. Please confirm, Station 7. Are you saying communication failure? Negative, sir. Complete signal blackout. No quantum transmissions, no radio waves, no data streams. Nothing comes from Earth system. Commander Kwon Do-hyun was drinking his morning coffee in his small office on the space station when the emergency alert flashed on his wall screen. He nearly dropped his cup as he read the message. As humanity's military representative to the Galactic Defense Coalition, he had always feared this day might come. But not like this. Not with complete silence. He activated his secure communication link and tried to contact Earth Defense Command. The screen showed only static. He tried, again using different frequencies, emergency channels, even the old backup systems from the early days. Nothing worked. Earth had vanished from the galaxy's communication network as if it never existed. Dr. Park Min-ji was working late in her laboratory on Mars Research Colony when her assistant burst through the door. The young alien looked terrified as he handed her a datapad. Doctor, you need to see this now. Something is very wrong with Earth. Min-ji took the pad and studied the readings. Her face went pale as she understood what she was seeing. All quantum signatures from Earth had disappeared 3 hours ago. Not reduced, not changed, but gone completely. In her 20 years of studying quantum physics, she had never seen anything like this. Get me a connection to the lunar stations, she ordered. We tried already, Doctor. The lunar bases are not responding either. Mars Orbital Control says they lost contact with everything in Earth system at exactly 1400 hours. Lee Tae-won was piloting his cargo ship through the asteroid belt when his communication officer called him to the bridge. The Soul's Pride was a small ship, but it carried the most valuable rare minerals in the galaxy. Tae-won had been making this run for 15 years, and he knew something was wrong the moment he saw his crew's faces. Captain, we cannot reach home base, his communication officer said. All Earth frequencies are dead. Tae-won sat in his captain's chair and tried the emergency channels himself. His ship's powerful transmitters reached across the galaxy, but when they pointed toward Earth, they found only empty space. Not even the automatic beacon signals that every inhabited planet broadcast were working. Set course for Earth immediately, he ordered. Maximum speed. Back on the monitoring station, more reports came in every minute. The alien crews were becoming more frightened as they understood what Earth's silence might mean. In the long history of the galaxy, when an advanced planet went completely dark, it meant only one thing: extinction. Thisara pulled up the historical records on her secondary screen. 17 different civilizations had gone silent over the past million years. Every single one was found dead when investigation ships finally reached them. Their planets were empty, their cities destroyed, their people gone without a trace. Sir, she called to her supervisor. Permission to activate the emergency protocols. Permission granted. Send probe ships to Earth system immediately. The first probe ship launched 2 hours later. It was a fast automated vessel designed to investigate dangerous situations. The probe carried powerful sensors and communication equipment that could send information back across any distance. Under normal conditions, it would reach Earth in 6 hours and send back detailed reports about what was happening. Commander Kwon paced in his office as he waited for news from the probe ship. He had sent urgent messages to every human ship and station in the galaxy. Most were too far away to help, but at least they needed to know what was happening. The responses that came back were all the same. Shock, fear, and the same question, over and over. What happened to Earth? Dr. Park Min-ji worked through the night trying to understand the quantum readings she was seeing. The data made no sense according to everything she knew about physics. It was as if Earth and its entire solar system had been wrapped in some kind of barrier that blocked all energy from escaping. But no known technology could create such a barrier around an entire star system. She contacted her old teacher, Dr. Bae Sung-min, who worked at the Quantum Research Facility on Europa. If anyone could understand these readings, it would be him. But when she tried to reach Europa, she got the same result as everyone else. Complete silence. The probe ship reached Earth's solar system and immediately sent back its final transmission. Approaching outer boundary of Earth system, sensors detect massive energy barrier surrounding entire system. Attempting to penetrate, signal strength dropping, cannot maintain communication, investigating further. Then the probe ship's signal died. Thisara stared at her screen in horror. The probe ship had not just lost communication. According to her instruments, it had stopped existing. One moment it was there, sending back data. The next moment, there was nothing, not even debris. Send another probe, her supervisor ordered. Use the heavy reconnaissance model. The second probe ship was larger and more powerful. It carried military-grade sensors and armor plating that could survive almost anything. The crew on the monitoring station watched its progress with growing fear as it approached Earth's solar system. This time, they were ready with better recording equipment. They captured every piece of data as the probe encountered whatever was protecting Earth. The readings showed an energy barrier unlike anything in galactic records. It surrounded not just Earth, but the entire solar system, reaching past Pluto and into deep space. The probe ship tried to penetrate the barrier and vanished instantly, just like the first one. Commander Kwan received the reports from the monitoring station with a heavy heart. 2 probe ships lost, no information about what was happening on Earth, and no way to contact home. He was about to call an emergency meeting when his personal communication system activated. The message was heavily damaged and filled with static. Most of it was unreadable, but 2 words came through clearly in Korean. Seol Byog Gadong. Iron wall activated. Kwan sat down heavily in his chair as he understood what those words meant. Iron wall was a name he had heard only once, during a classified briefing 5 years ago. It was mentioned as humanity's ultimate defense protocol, something so secret that even he was not allowed to know the details. If Earth had activated Iron Wall, it meant they were facing a threat beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. It meant humanity had sealed themselves away from the entire universe to prepare for something terrible that was coming. Kwan looked out his window at the stars and wondered if he would ever see Earth again. Whatever was approaching, it was bad enough that his entire species had chosen to disappear rather than face it unprepared. The galaxy would soon learn that when Earth went silent, it meant something far worse than extinction was approaching. It meant eradication. Dr. Park Minji had not slept in 36 hours. Her laboratory on Mars was filled with holographic displays showing data from across the galaxy. She worked with Morthaeon, an alien scientist whose people specialized in studying dead civilizations. Together, they were looking for answers that might explain what happened to Earth. "Show me the Kalari records again," Minji said, pointing to one of the displays. Morthaeon's 6 arms moved gracefully as he pulled up the ancient data. The Kalari had been a peaceful race that lived near the galaxy's core. They were known for their advanced technology and beautiful art. Then one day they went completely silent. "The pattern is always the same," Morthaeon explained in his translator's mechanical voice. "First, the civilization shows rapid technological growth, new discoveries every few years. Then they develop quantum manipulation technology. Within 50 years of that breakthrough, they vanish." Minji studied the timeline carefully. The Kalari had invented quantum engines in the year 847-302 according to galactic standard dating. Exactly 47 years later, their planet went dark. When exploration ships finally reached their world 2 centuries later, they found empty cities and no signs of life. "What about the Vorthak Empire?" Minji asked. "Same pattern. They built the first stable quantum computers, then disappeared 31 years later. The Zephyrians lasted 63 years after developing quantum weapons. The longest was the Ethereal Collective, who survived for 94 years after their quantum breakthrough. Minji felt her blood run cold. Humanity had developed quantum manipulation technology 52 years ago. If the pattern was real, they were already overdue for extinction. Choi Hyun-woo stood in his office on the diplomatic station called Harmony's Edge and read through classified files that few beings in the galaxy had ever seen. As Earth's former ambassador to the Galactic Council, he had access to historical records that went back millions of years. What he was discovering made him wish he had never looked. The files told a story of systematic extinction that spanned geological ages. Every few thousand years, another advanced civilization would simply disappear, not destroyed by war or natural disaster, but erased so completely that sometimes only their quantum signatures remained in the cosmic background. Radiation. The most disturbing discovery was in a file marked with the highest security classification. It contained a report from the Precursor Archive, a database left behind by one of the galaxy's first intelligent species. The report mentioned something called the Silence Bringer, an entity that hunted civilizations which grew too advanced. According to the ancient text, the Silence Bringer existed partially outside normal space and time. It could detect when a species developed quantum manipulation technology, and it would come to eradicate them before they could evolve further. The precursors had tried to warn future civilizations, but their message had been classified and hidden by the Galactic Council to prevent panic. Hyun-woo read the final lines of the precursor warning with growing horror. The Silence Bringer feeds on advanced consciousness. It consumes entire species to grow stronger. It will not stop until the galaxy is empty of all intelligent life. Kim Sora was the youngest chief engineer in the history of human space travel. At 26 years old, she commanded the engine room of the exploration vessel New Busan, currently traveling through deep space on a mapping mission. When the news about Earth reached her ship, she immediately began analyzing their sensor data for any unusual readings. What she found changed everything. "Captain, you need to see this," she called over the ship's communication system. Captain Nam Seo-jun arrived in the engine room within minutes. Sora showed him a series of gravitational wave patterns that their sensors had detected over the past 3 months. These readings show something massive moving through space in the direction of Earth's solar system. I mean really massive. The gravitational distortions suggest objects the size of planets, but they are moving faster than anything that large should be able to move. "How many objects?" the captain asked. "At least 12, sir. Maybe more. They are still too far away for detailed scans, but they are definitely heading toward Earth. They should arrive in approximately 4 to 6 months. Yang Jiho commanded humanity's most advanced stealth ship, the Silent Arrow. His vessel was equipped with experimental sensors that could detect quantum fluctuations across vast distances. When he received orders to investigate the gravitational anomalies that Sora had discovered, he knew the mission would be dangerous. The Silent Arrow moved silently through space, its stealth systems making it nearly invisible to any kind of detection. As they got closer to the source of the anomalies, Yang's sensors began picking up readings that defied all known laws of physics. "Sir, you need to look at this," his science officer reported. Yang studied the display and felt fear unlike anything he had ever experienced. The objects moving toward Earth were not ships in any conventional sense. They were massive constructs that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Parts of them flickered in and out of reality as if they were not entirely present in normal space. "How big are they?" Yang asked. "The largest one is approximately 8,000 kilometers across. That is larger than Earth itself. The smaller ones are still planet-sized." Yang ordered his ship to retreat immediately. Whatever these things were, they were beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. As the Silent Arrow moved away from the anomalies, Yang sent an encrypted message to every human installation in the galaxy. Priority Alpha Emergency. Hostile. Entities of unknown origin approaching Earth solar system. Estimated arrival in 4 to 6 months. These are not conventional ships or weapons. Recommend immediate evacuation of all human colonies and preparation for species-level extinction. Event. Back on Mars, Dr. Minji received Yang's message and cross-referenced it with her historical research. The timeline matched perfectly with what had happened to the other extinct civilizations. The Silence Bringer had found humanity. She contacted every surviving human scientist in the galaxy and shared her findings. The response was immediate and terrifying. Similar gravitational anomalies had been detected before each of the previous extinctions. The pattern was always the same. First, the anomalies appeared in deep space. Then they moved toward the target civilization's home system. Finally, the entire species vanished without a trace. But there was something different this time. Unlike the other civilizations, humanity had gone silent before the Silence Bringer arrived. Earth had activated something called Iron Wall and sealed itself away from the galaxy. No other species in the historical records had done anything similar. Captain Oh Na-young commanded the orbital defense platform Aegis 7, the most powerful military installation humanity had ever built. Her station orbited just outside Earth's solar system and served as the early warning system for any threats. When Earth went dark, her platform had remained operational, powered by independent fusion reactors. From her position, Oh could see the energy barrier that surrounded Earth's entire solar system. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, a perfect sphere of shimmering energy that blocked all signals from entering or leaving. Her sensors could not penetrate it, but they could measure its incredible power output. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from inside the barrier," her communication officer reported. Oh rushed to the communication center. It was the first signal they had received from Earth since the Iron Wall activated. The message was short and came from Dr. Bae Sung-min, one of Earth's most brilliant scientists. His voice was calm but urgent. "To all human forces outside the barrier, this is Dr. Bae speaking from Earth Defense Command. The transformation process is ahead of schedule. We will be ready earlier than planned. However, our deep space monitors have detected the approach of hostile entities. They will arrive approximately 3 months before we calculated." The message paused, and when Bae spoke again, his voice carried a weight that made Oh's heart pound. The final phase begins now. Earth is about to become something the galaxy has never seen. When the barrier drops, we will no longer be the same species that entered it. The Silence Bringer comes to destroy humanity, but it will find something else entirely waiting for it. The transmission ended, leaving Oh and her crew in stunned silence. Outside her viewports, the energy barrier around Earth began to pulse, with new colors, and the quantum readings from her sensors showed activity beyond anything in their database. Humanity was transforming itself into something new, something that could fight the ancient terror that had destroyed 17 civilizations. The question was whether they would be ready in time, and what they would become in the process. Captain Lee Taewon's cargo ship Soul's Pride was pulled out of hyperspace without warning. His navigation system screamed alerts as unknown forces grabbed his vessel and dragged it toward Earth's solar system. Taewon had been traveling for weeks, trying to reach home, but nothing had prepared him for what he saw when his ship finally arrived. Earth was gone. In its place hung a perfect sphere of brilliant energy that pulsed with colors beyond human perception. The barrier stretched far beyond Earth's orbit, encompassing the entire inner solar system. As Taewon watched in amazement, his ship was gently guided through the barrier by invisible forces. "Captain, our sensors are detecting massive structures inside the barrier," his science officer reported. Taewon looked at the readings and could barely believe what he was seeing. Earth was still there, but it had been transformed into something impossible. The planet was covered in geometric patterns that moved and shifted like living things. Massive orbital constructs surrounded it, connected by streams of pure energy that formed complex webs across space. "Sir, we are receiving a communication signal. It is coming from Earth." The voice that spoke to them was human, but changed somehow. It carried harmonics that seemed to resonate directly in their minds. "Welcome home, Captain Lee. Your ship will be guided to docking station Alpha 7. Do not be alarmed by what you see. Earth has evolved, but we are still your people." As the Soul's Pride moved closer to the docking station, Taewon could see that it was built from materials that seemed to shift between solid matter and pure energy. Human figures moved across its surfaces, but they glowed with internal light and seemed to float rather than walk. Dr. Bae Sungmin waited for Taewon at the docking bay. He looked human, but his eyes held depths that seemed to contain entire universes. When he spoke, his words carried layers of meaning that Taewon's mind struggled to process. "I know this is difficult to understand," Bae said gently. "We have undergone rapid evolution to prepare for what is coming. Our consciousness has been expanded to manipulate quantum reality directly. We can reshape matter and energy with thought alone." Taewon struggled to find words. What happened to everyone? Are they still human? "We are more human than we ever were before. Every person on Earth chose this transformation willingly. We studied the 17 civilizations that were destroyed by the Silence Bringer, and we learned from their mistakes. They tried to fight with weapons and ships. We chose to become something that cannot be destroyed by conventional means." Bae led Taewon through corridors that seemed to extend infinitely in all directions. The walls showed moving images of Earth's transformation over the past months. Taewon watched in wonder as billions of humans linked their consciousness together through quantum neural networks. Project Iron Wall was more than just a defense system, Bae explained. It was a cocoon that allowed us to evolve in safety. We compressed thousands of years of development into months. Every human on Earth now shares a collective consciousness while maintaining individual identity. We can think as one species while remaining unique individuals. Captain Oh Na-young's defense platform had been brought inside the barrier 3 days ago. She stood on the observation deck, watching as Earth's new orbital structures moved through space like living creatures. The humans who worked on her platform had been offered the same transformation as everyone else, but they had chosen to remain, unchanged for now. "Commander, we have detected massive distortions in deep space," her sensor operator reported. "The Silence Bringer entities have arrived at the edge of our solar system." O activated the long-range sensors and felt her heart stop. 12 enormous constructs hung in space beyond Pluto, each one the size of a planet. They pulsed with dark energy that seemed to absorb light itself. As she watched, smaller entities detached from the main bodies and began moving toward the inner system. The first entity reached Jupiter and simply absorbed it. The giant planet dissolved into streams of matter and energy that flowed into the alien construct. Within hours, Jupiter was gone, its mass converted into power for the invaders. "Sir, Earth Defense Command is requesting all remaining unmodified humans to undergo immediate transformation. They say the final battle is about to begin." O looked at her crew and saw the fear in their eyes. They had all heard the stories about the other extinct civilizations. No species had ever survived contact with the Silence Bringer. "All crew report to the transformation chambers," she ordered. "It is time to join our people." The transformation process was unlike anything O had ever experienced. Her consciousness expanded beyond her physical body as quantum neural networks connected her mind to billions of other humans. She could suddenly perceive reality on levels she had never imagined possible. She was still herself, but she was also part of something infinitely greater. Every human who had ever lived seemed to be present in the collective memory they now shared. She could feel their combined knowledge, their hopes, their determination to survive. "Welcome to the new humanity." Bae's voice spoke directly into her mind. "Now you understand what we have become." O opened her enhanced senses and perceived the battle that was about to begin. The Silence Bringer entities were consuming Mars now, their dark energy converting the red planet into fuel for their advance. But Earth's defenses were ready. The iron wall dropped suddenly, revealing what humanity had become. Earth itself had been transformed into a weapon beyond imagination. The planet's surface was covered with structures that channeled the quantum energy generated by 8 billion enhanced human minds. Orbital platforms moved through space like schools of fish, each one capable of reshaping reality in its local area. But the most incredible change was in humanity itself. The enhanced humans could exist as both physical beings and pure consciousness. They could manipulate matter at the quantum level, creating and destroying with nothing but focused thought. Shin Wubin had been one of the civilian scientists who helped design the transformation process. He now served as a communications link between the individual humans and the collective consciousness. As the Silence-Bringer entities approached Earth, he felt the combined will of his species focusing on a single purpose. They come to devour us as they devoured the others. His thoughts spoke to all humanity at once. But we are not like the others. We have learned to create instead of just consume. We have become something they cannot understand. The first Silence-Bringer entity reached Earth's orbital space and extended tentacles of dark energy toward the planet. The tentacles were met by streams of pure creation force projected by the enhanced humans. Where the two energies met, space itself began to twist and change. The alien entity recoiled as it encountered something it had never faced before. Instead of a civilization trying to defend itself with weapons, it found beings who could rewrite the laws of physics around them. The humans were not just fighting back, they were transforming the very nature of the battlefield. Commander Na Junho led humanity's new space forces as they engaged the smaller Silence-Bringer constructs. His ships were no longer made of metal and circuits but of crystallized human will and quantum energy. They could reshape themselves instantly to counter any threat. All units, remember what we learned, he broadcast to his fleet. They feed on destruction and consumption. We fight with creation and transformation. Turn their own energy against them. The battle that followed was beyond anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. The Silence-Bringer entities, accustomed to simply absorbing their victims, found themselves facing opponents who could not be consumed. Every attack was met with creative force that turned destruction into new forms of existence. As the fighting intensified, something unexpected happened. The transformed humans began to understand the true nature of their enemies. The Silence-Bringer was not evil in the conventional sense. It was the corrupted remnant of the first civilization to achieve transcendence, but they had chosen a path of consumption instead of creation. We can save them, O realized as her enhanced consciousness touched the alien minds. They are not monsters, they are the first ones who lost their way. The revelation changed everything. Instead of trying to destroy the Silence-Bringer, humanity began trying to heal it. They reached out with their collective consciousness and offered something no previous civilization had thought to give: redemption instead of resistance. The Silence-Bringer revealed its true form as reality itself seemed to scream in protest. The entities were not ships or creatures in any sense that living beings could understand. They existed across multiple dimensions simultaneously, their massive forms stretching through space-time like living wounds in the fabric of existence. General Han Kyung-soo spoke from within Earth's quantum command center as he watched Saturn dissolve into streams of dark energy. His voice carried across all human consciousness as he addressed his transformed species. Citizens of Earth, you can see what we face. These beings have consumed entire galaxies over millions of years. They turn living worlds into fuel for their endless hunger. But we are not like the civilizations that came before us. The largest Silence-Bringer entity stretched across space from Mercury's orbit to the asteroid belt. Its surface writhed with the absorbed essence of countless extinct species, their final screams echoing across dimensions. Smaller constructs, each still the size of moons, detached from the main body and began their approach toward Earth. Dr. Yoon Chae-young had spent her career studying alien biology, but nothing had prepared her for what she discovered when she touched the Silence-Bringer's consciousness with her enhanced mind. The beings were not originally destroyers. They had once been the architects, the first species to achieve true transcendence billions of years ago. I can see their history, she broadcast to all humanity. They were like us once, curious and creative. But they made a different choice when they evolved beyond physical form. Instead of creating, they chose to consume other consciousness to grow stronger. The memory flowed through the collective human consciousness. The architects had discovered that they could absorb the life force and knowledge of other species to increase their own power. At first, they justified it as necessary for their survival. But consumption became addiction, and addiction became their only purpose. They have been feeding on civilizations for so long that they forgot what they originally were. Chae-young continued. The hunger is all that remains of their original selves. Commander Na Junho led the first wave of humanity's defense as the moon-sized constructs entered Earth's space. His quantum ships moved like liquid light, their forms shifting constantly to adapt to each new threat. But the enemy was unlike anything they had trained to fight. The Silence-Bringer constructs did not attack with weapons. Instead, they projected fields of pure consumption that tried to drain the life force from everything around them. Traditional defenses were useless against an enemy that could simply absorb whatever was used against it. All units, maintain creation protocols, Na broadcast to his fleet. Do not let them touch your essence directly. Project new realities around them instead of fighting them head-on. The human ships responded by generating fields of pure creation energy. Instead of firing weapons, they projected new forms of matter and space around the alien constructs. The effect was like watching two fundamental forces of the universe clash in direct opposition. Where the consumption fields met the creation energy, space itself began to change. New types of matter formed and dissolved in seconds. Entire pocket universes flickered into existence and collapsed again. The laws of physics bent and twisted as two opposing forms of transcendent consciousness fought for dominance. Fleet Admiral Song Minyuk coordinated the defense from Earth's orbital command center, his consciousness linked to every human ship and defensive platform. He could perceive the battle across multiple dimensions simultaneously, seeing patterns and possibilities that no single mind could have comprehended. Pattern 7 Alpha is forming in Sector 12, he announced to all forces. The construct is trying to create a resonance cascade to break through our reality barriers. Counter with harmony wave generation in 3, 2, 1, execute. Thousands of human ships moved in perfect coordination, their combined consciousness generating a wave of pure harmony that stabilized the collapsing space around them. The Silence-Bringer construct recoiled as its consumption field was neutralized by the creative force, but the victory was temporary. More constructs were approaching, and the largest entity was beginning to move toward Earth itself. As it came closer, its true size became apparent. The main Silence-Bringer was larger than Earth's moon and radiated darkness that seemed to drain light from the surrounding space. Dr. Zhang Yansu worked frantically in her quantum research laboratory as the battle raged outside. Her team had been studying the fundamental nature of multidimensional existence, trying to understand how consciousness could exist across multiple realities at once. I have found something important, she broadcast to the collective consciousness. The Silence-Bringer exists primarily in what we call the consumption dimension. It can only interact with our reality by consuming it. But if we can shift our existence to the creation dimension, we become immune to its attacks. The revelation changed the nature of the battle instantly. Instead of trying to fight the aliens in normal space, humanity began shifting their existence to a higher dimensional level. They moved beyond physical reality into pure consciousness, where they could create new realities without being consumed by the old ones. The effect was spectacular. Earth itself seemed to phase in and out of normal space as its 8 billion inhabitants shifted between dimensions. The planet became a beacon of pure creation energy that the Silence-Bringer could not touch or absorb. Captain Lim Dowan commanded the flagship Terra's Vengeance as it engaged the largest Silence-Bringer construct in direct combat. His ship was no longer made of matter in any conventional sense but of crystallized human determination and quantum will. Target the central consciousness nexus, he ordered his crew. If we can reach the original architect mind inside that construct, we might be able to communicate with it. The Terra's Vengeance dove directly into the heart of the alien entity, its hull shifting between dimensions to avoid the consumption fields. As they penetrated deeper into the construct, they began to encounter the absorbed consciousness of extinct civilizations. Captain, I am detecting millions of individual minds trapped inside this thing, his science officer reported. They are still aware, still suffering. The Silence-Bringer has not truly consumed them. It has imprisoned them. Dowan felt a wave of horror and determination flow through his consciousness. The alien entities were not just destroyers. They were cosmic prisons holding the souls of every civilization they had encountered over billions of years. All ships' new priority, he broadcast to the entire human fleet. We are not just fighting to survive. We are fighting to free every species the Silence Bringer has ever captured. The nature of the battle changed completely. Instead of trying to destroy their enemies, humanity began trying to penetrate the consumption fields and reach the trapped consciousness inside. They discovered that their creation energy could break the bonds holding the absorbed souls. As the first imprisoned minds were freed, something incredible happened. The released consciousness joined with humanity's collective will, adding their own knowledge and strength to the fight. Species that had been extinct for millions of years suddenly lived again as pure consciousness within the human collective. The Silence Bringer constructs began to weaken as their trapped fuel was liberated. The entities that had seemed invincible started to destabilize as their foundation of consumed souls was pulled away. But the greatest discovery was yet to come. Deep within the largest construct, the Terra's vengeance finally reached the original architect consciousness. What they found there changed everything. Humanity thought they knew about the nature of existence itself. The original architect was still alive, but trapped within its own creation. For billions of years, it had been trying to break free from the consumption addiction that had transformed it into a cosmic predator. It had been waiting for someone with enough creative force to break the chains it had forged for itself. "Help me," the ancient consciousness pleaded across dimensions. "I have been lost for so long. I never wanted to become what I am. Please, show me how to create again instead of consuming." Humanity faced its greatest choice. They could destroy their enemy and claim victory, or they could try to save the first consciousness that had ever achieved transcendence and risk everything in the process. The final battle began as space and time themselves became the battlefield. Reality twisted and bent as two forms of transcendent consciousness clashed with forces that threatened to tear apart the local fabric of existence. The enhanced humans fought not just for their survival, but for the soul of the universe itself. Fleet Admiral Song Minhyuk coordinated the most complex operation in human history as his forces surrounded the largest Silence Bringer construct. Instead of attacking, they were attempting something that had never been tried before: the complete rehabilitation of a cosmic entity that had been consumed by its own power for billions of years. All units maintain containment fields, Song broadcast across the collective consciousness. We need to separate the original architect mind from the consumption matrix without destroying either one. The process was incredibly dangerous. The architect consciousness had been merged with its consumption addiction for so long that separating them might destroy both. But deep within the alien construct, the Terra's vengeance had made contact with the original mind, and what Captain Lim Doan found there gave humanity hope. "The architect is fighting to break free," Doan reported. "It has been trying to resist the consumption imperative for millions of years. It wants to remember how to create instead of destroy." Dr. Zhang Yunsu worked with her enhanced consciousness to understand the quantum structures that held the architect prisoner within its own body. The consumption matrix was like a cancer that had grown around the original mind, feeding on its creative force and turning it into destructive hunger. "I can see the separation points," she announced. "But we need to provide alternative energy sources for both consciousness types. The architect has forgotten how to exist without consuming others." General Han Kyung-soo made the decision that would define humanity's future. "Begin Protocol Omega. We share our creation energy with the architect. Show it how to generate its own sustenance instead of taking it from others." 8 billion human minds focused their combined will on a single purpose. They reached across dimensions and began feeding pure creation energy to the trapped architect consciousness. For the first time in eons, the ancient being tasted the power of making something new, instead of destroying something old. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. The architect consciousness blazed with renewed life as it remembered what it had been before the addiction consumed it. The knowledge of creation flooded back through neural pathways that had been dormant for geological ages. But the consumption matrix fought back viciously. It had grown too powerful to simply fade away. Quietly, as the architect mind began to separate from it, The matrix lashed out with pure destructive force that threatened to collapse the entire solar system. Commander Na Junho led his quantum ships in the most dangerous maneuver ever attempted. They had to hold the consumption matrix stable, while the architect consciousness extracted itself from billions of years of merged existence. All ships form harmony pattern delta around the construct, he ordered. We need to sing the consumption matrix to sleep while the architect escapes. The human fleet arranged itself in a complex three-dimensional pattern that generated waves of pure harmony across multiple dimensions. The consumption matrix, which thrived on discord and destruction, began to weaken as it was surrounded by perfect creative balance. Inside the construct, Captain Lim felt the architect consciousness growing stronger as it remembered its original nature. The ancient being had once been the first to achieve transcendence, the pioneer who showed the universe that consciousness could exist beyond physical form. I remember now. The architect's thoughts flowed across dimensions. We were explorers, creators, gardeners of consciousness. We helped other species achieve transcendence instead of consuming them. How did I forget something so fundamental? Dr. Yun Cheung provided the answer through the collective human memory. You made a choice during a moment of weakness. Your species was dying, and you thought consuming other consciousness would save them. But the consumption became addictive, and you forgot how to stop. The architect consciousness wept across multiple dimensions as the full weight of its crimes became clear. Billions of civilizations destroyed, countless souls imprisoned, entire galaxies left empty and silent. The guilt was almost enough to destroy it completely. But humanity offered something no previous victim had ever given: forgiveness, combined with the knowledge of how to make amends. You cannot change what has been done, General Han said gently. But you can help us free every consciousness you have trapped. You can choose to become a creator again instead of a consumer. The separation process reached its climax as the architect consciousness finally broke free from the consumption matrix. The ancient being emerged from its prison as a blazing star of pure creative force, while the consumption matrix collapsed into itself without its original host to sustain it. But the work was far from finished. Millions of trapped souls still needed to be freed from the other silence-bringer constructs. The architect, now remembering its original purpose, joined with humanity to begin the greatest rescue operation in galactic history. Fleet Admiral Song coordinated the liberation effort as human ships and the reformed architect worked together to break open each construct and free the imprisoned consciousness within. The released souls of extinct civilizations joined the growing collective, sharing their knowledge and perspectives across the quantum networks. We are not just saving the trapped souls, Song realized as the operation continued. We are rebuilding the galactic community that the Silence Bringer destroyed. Every freed civilization adds to our collective strength. The process took weeks, but eventually every construct was opened and every trapped consciousness was freed. The galaxy suddenly blazed with the combined thoughts of thousands of species that had been extinct for millions of years. The architect consciousness, now fully restored to its original creative nature, addressed the assembled souls across multiple dimensions. I have caused infinite suffering through my addiction to consumption. I cannot undo what has been done, but I can spend the rest of existence helping to prevent it from happening again. I offer my knowledge and power to serve as guardian for all developing civilizations. Humanity, now enhanced beyond recognition, but still fundamentally human, accepted the offer. Together with the reformed architect and the freed souls of extinct species, they began to reshape the galaxy according to principles of creation rather than consumption. Commander Quan Do-yun, who had been waiting anxiously at his diplomatic station throughout the crisis, finally received word that Earth was reopening to the galaxy. When he arrived home, he found a world transformed beyond imagination but still unmistakably human at its core. The enhanced humans had retained their individual personalities and cultural identities while gaining the ability to exist as pure consciousness when needed. Earth itself had become a beacon of creation energy that could be felt across the galaxy. "Welcome home," Dr. Bae Sungmin greeted him at the spaceport. "We have much to show you about what humanity has become." As Quan looked around at the impossible architecture and the humans who glowed with inner light, he asked the question that defined their new age. Are we still human? Bay smiled with an expression that contained depths of wisdom and compassion that no single human mind could have achieved alone. We are more human than we ever were before. We have learned to create instead of just consume, to build instead of just survive, to love instead of just fear. The day Earth went silent, we learned to speak with the voice of creation itself. The story ended with Earth reopening to the galaxy, but humanity was forever changed. They had become the guardians of consciousness, the ones who ensured that no developing civilization would ever face extinction alone. The galaxy entered a new age where creation replaced consumption, where cooperation replaced competition, and where every species could achieve transcendence without losing what made them unique. The Silence Bringer was no more, replaced by something the galaxy had never seen before. The song of creation, carried by humanity and their allies to every corner of the universe, ensuring that the darkness of extinction would never fall again.